I will stand. Dr. Davis, yeah, I think not have exactly for
Okay, so I want to take the eight, which is right up.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a video.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll be with you later. How about that? Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We are very happy to have you in the first Barrett networking event. In Barrett, Honors College is extremely important for us to promote the leadership in our students. Furthermore, provide them with the tools to excel their abilities in a professional world. In this competitive world, it's vital to complement education in the classroom with experiences that help our students to take practice the knowledge that they acquire. These experiences like participating in a networking event or also applying for a scholarship, for an internship program, or even giving something back to their communities in a nonprofit organization, help them to excel all their knowledge and connect with professionals that are willing to provide you with an advice like these amazing panelists that we have tonight. Saying this, I have the honor to present the participants of the first panel of this event, Public Service, Community Solutions, and Higher Education. As a moderator for this panel, we have our dear dean at Barrett Honors College Downtown, Olga Idris Davis. She's passionate about enhancing communication to improve the health and well-being of underserved populations. She helped establish a health coalition for refugee women in Maricopa County and was appointed by the Governor Napolitano to serve on the State Commission on Women and Children's Health. In addition, Davis is intricately involved in promoting health among the African American communities in Arizona. She works in the Phoenix-based Coalition of Blacks Against Breast Cancer and has created a narrative play, The Journey, Living Cancer Out Loud. Based on the interviews of the experience of African American survivors and caregivers of breast cancer, which has been performed in various community and hospitals venues in Phoenix and Scottsdale. Raising awareness in Black barbershops, Davis addresses knowledge of cardiovascular disease among African American men in Phoenix and Arizona. She carries a PhD in communication from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and right now she serves as a professor and associate dean at Houston School of Human Communications, and of course from Barrett the Honors College Downtown. Thank you so much for being here, Dean, and for moderating this panel. For our amazing panelists, I have the pleasure to present Tracy Hall. She's an assistant director of the Phoenix Parks and Recreation Department. Her span of control has included oversee 158 flatlands park, 32 community centers, 32 pools, 8 golf courses managed through long-term lease, 41,000 acres and preserved land in 200 plus miles of trails and 40 trailheads, numerous programs, classes, and events. Located in 1,500-year-old prehistoric Poconan archaeological site in over 1,000 employees. He currently oversees two geographic divisions, South and Northeast, and the Natural Resources and Special Operation divisions. Her tenure with the City of Phoenix began over 20 years ago as a part-time recreation employee for the Parks Department. During her career with the city, she has served as a deputy chief of staff as a senior policy advisor for two mayors. She has also worked in other cities departments such as aviation and human services and participated in city management inter-program. Tracy also has consulting business that she operates in her spare time, transitional risk consulting, in which she provides skills trainings and workshops for children in the child welfare system. Her consulting business also provides administrative support, technical writing, and project management to business and nonprofits. As a Phoenix native, Tracy attended to Arizona State University, where she earned a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Sociology and Master's of Arts degree in Public Administration. While pursuing her education, she cheered professionally for Arizona Cardinals and Arizona Rattles. Tracy currently serves on Arizona State University President's Inclusion and Success Committee. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc. and the National the Learning Leader Award from the Maricopa County branch for the Young Women Christian Association. The Phoenix Business Journal as one of the 4 under 40 emerging leaders, and by Ebony Magazine as one of the nation's 30 African American leaders under 30 years age. She has previously served on boards such as the Sons Night Hubs Board, AS Teen Pregnancy and Prevention, and Arizona Education Foundation. She has also participated in community programs such as Ballet Leadership and Black Board of Directors. She previously participated in 2002 and 2003 in the Arizona Republic newspapers public polls panel. Seen in the Sunday Viewpoint sections, Tracy has 3 children, Elijah, Nicholas, and Trinity. She's amazing. I cannot say anything else. Welcome, Tracy, and thank you for your participation in this panel. Next, I have the honor to present Craig Stevens. He has over 30 years of career experience as an international business expert, specializing in business processes and support functions, new market and product service development, software development, information network system solutions, in contact centers and management consulting. As an entrepreneurial spirit and innovative thinking, he has been the core of creating new ideas and opening new markets. To attain previously untouched business goals, most often the desire to acquire, implement, and utilize the new concepts that was not frequently known and widely resisted initially. He has launched several new divisions and turns around of struggling entities from large multinational companies to startups and firms personally funded. He has generated and overseen several $1 billion of global business management operation on 6 continents with 10,000 and plus employees. Now he spends his time meeting philanthropic goals and giving back, acting as an executive in residence, academic teaching associate, and volunteer at Arizona State University, mentoring students at the graduate and undergraduate levels. In addition, he participates in the establishment of many new support programs with several of the colleges at the university, while continuing to travel companies and individuals whenever needed. Craig is a graduate of Bentley University with both a bachelor's in science in computer information systems and associate science in management, making him a member of Double Falcon Society. Welcome, Craig, and thank you for participating in this panel. And last but not least, we have Dr. Kenya Hassan. We are very happy to have her here. It was a miracle because I know that she's making a lot of effort to be here tonight. So thank you so much again. Dr. Hassan is guided by ASU mission to be measured not by whom we exclude, but rather by whom we include. Dr. Hassan's work to forge relationships between ASU and diverse community through the state. Kenya has brought the college preparation programs to American Indian youth reservations, orchestrated national dialogues on pressing issues in the national capital, guided by student service projects across Arizona, and launches a series of reports on the status of Arizona diverse community, including the State of Black Arizona, which went on thrive as an independent community-based nonprofit. She's currently a liaison to African and Asian American communities and to civil leadership organizations representing the interests of the minority populations. Kenya has been recognized by several organizations for her work to straight Arizona community, including the Phoenix Business Journal, the City of Phoenix Human Relations Commissions, and the Arizona Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee. The Blackboard of Directors Project, the Phoenix Suns and PetSmart, the American Association for Access, Equity, and Diversity, the Arizona Commission on African American Affairs, and Asian corporate and entrepreneur leaders, and Phoenix for Her Stories, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment and women's constitutional right to vote. Dr. Hassan holds a bachelor's in religion from Princeton University and a master's in arts in religious studies from Arizona State University, both with an emphasis of American Indian traditions. Her PhD is from the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation with an emphasis on health disparities related to HIV and the influence of patient-provider relationships on health outcomes. Welcome again, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now I'm happy to give the phone to our dear Dean Davies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we give a round of applause to Andrea, please? Thank you so much, Andrea. This is such a wonderful opportunity to be here with all of you with this fantastic quality of panelists. I'd like to also ask you to give them a round of applause before we begin. Thank you. Thank you each for being here. I hope you think tonight about this notion of reimagining honors. Here at the Barrett Honors College, we have thought over the last 4 years, what does it mean to reimagine? And what we've tried to do at the Barrett downtown campus is exactly that. Of course, none of us knew in 2019 that a few months after that, we would be faced with a pandemic of, 100-year proportion. No one in our timeline of, 100 years had ever gone through this. And of course, as you know, ASU stepped up to navigate through that. Barrett also stepped up to navigate through that. And we also tried to understand what this notion of reimagining means. And we're still in that process of reimagining who we are as an honors college and as an honors downtown campus post-COVID, although COVID is still here, but we are constantly making sure that our students are always at the top and at the central aspect of whatever we do and however we think. And that's why we have this particular network today. We're reimagining honors from the perspective of what do we need to have our students know about networking? What do we need to have our students know about the quality and the leadership importance that they hold and that they're learning about? What do they need to know about excellence in everything that they do, including ways to be polished professionals in the networking milieu when you engage and meet people of a variety of different circles. That's what we teach at Barrett, knowing how to navigate a variety of different environments and be successful in those environments. And that really is what I believe all students of ASU are looking for, and we train you, we teach you, we encourage you, we facilitate those opportunities to know how to engage and to move through a variety of different environments and circles and individuals who can assist. And also you as Barrett leaders are going to be those individuals who other persons will ask you to lead out in a variety of different ways. So we're hoping and happy that we are helping to reimagine this new sense of the Honors College post-COVID and giving you opportunities to be prepared when you leave ASU. And so I'd like to begin asking several questions of my panelists tonight. My plan is that I will ask each of you this question, and then if you could think about how you would answer the question. If we do have time, I'd also like to ask the audience, if you have any questions you'd like to engage the panelists, please certainly feel free to do so if we have that time to do that. All right, well, let's begin. So my first question is, what was your major as an undergraduate student? That was maybe a few years ago, maybe just a few months ago for some of you. So what was your major as an undergraduate, and how did you get inspired to work in this field, the field that perhaps you were searching for, you were making sure that you were involved in as an undergraduate? And then the next question is, how has your career focused changed, or has it stayed the same since you've graduated? And so,
Sure.
Tracy, would you like to take that first? Or, all right.
If it's okay if I start, because I have to leave a little bit early.
Yes, of course.
Also, so, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't cut out rudely. So for the students, first off, congratulations on taking this step on your professional development by showing up. One thing that I have learned over the years, which I'm sure both of you, all three of you can agree with, is that half of the battle in professional development is showing up. And you never know what will happen when you show up at the right place at the right moment. So being present and being ready for your own self-growth and putting yourself at the table, inviting yourself to spaces that you may not have been invited to, but just saying, you know what, I'm actually going to show up because something good potentially will come out of that. And I know it's super hard for the introverts out there and the ones who have a challenge with a lot of social engagement. And I know that because I'm one of those people, but I also know that if I don't show up places, 90% of my job does not get done. So I majored in religious studies twice, a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. How many of you guess if I'm still in the field of religious studies? Raise your hand if you think I am. Yeah, so no, life doesn't necessarily take the course that you think as an undergraduate major. However, having a degree in religious studies really taught me to practice seeing situations and stories and histories from different perspectives of different people. And that skill set is incredibly useful just in day-to-day maneuvering through my professional circles, especially in a job that is focused on how I relate to communities and how I can help those different communities relate back to ASU. And then my third degree was a PhD from the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation, completely unrelated to what you would think with religious studies. However, there was a methodology that went through all three degrees that involved collecting stories from people and interpreting those stories in ways that could be useful for something applicable in the third case with my PhD applicable towards patient-provider relationships. So as you think about your majors, don't always just think about the nitty-gritty detail of the subject that you're learning. Think about the process of learning and how you're growing with each practice of your major and the subject that you're going through in order to develop your thinking skills, your speaking skills, and having things to talk to folks about while you're networking and showing up in professional spaces to advance your own career.
What a great answer. Thank you so much. Very much. Yes, who would like to go next?
All right, good evening. So I am an extrovert, if you can't tell. But it's still work. So my undergraduate degree from Arizona State, works up, was sociology. And I will tell you, there was no method to that. I was actually a communications major, could not get into a class when I wanted to. It was going to take another semester for me to graduate. And so I switched because I wanted to graduate. And I ended up with a degree in sociology. My master's degree was in public administration. A friend who had also attended ASU with me said, I knew I didn't want to do business. I was more social focused. I didn't want to do social work. They said, have you thought about public administration? And that was the right choice for me. It was the perfect choice for me. Before finishing graduate school, another friend of mine, her name is Ginger Spencer. She's a deputy city manager for the city of Phoenix now. Said, hey, I'm back because we took our GREs together, our test. She said, I'm coming back for the city has a management intern program. I wasn't really familiar with it. Looked it up. Oh, this is perfect. People who completed graduate school, you work in the city manager's office. If you're not familiar with government, city manager is basically like the CEO of the company or of the municipal government. Oh, you rotate through departments, you learn about how the city functions. This sounds perfect. I was fortunate enough to get that internship. I think when you talk about the question of has my career trajectory or path changed? Absolutely. I started off as a part-time recreation person, but I have matriculated through aviation. I did business development for aviation. I managed airport fuel permits for aviation. I did social work. I was a case manager in the Human Services Department. I've worked for 2 different mayors as a policy advisor, and then now back in Parks and Recreation. So one of the things I will tell you is always know your transferable skill set. If you can problem solve, you can problem solve anywhere. If you can analyze data, you can analyze data anywhere. If you can interact with people, you can do that anywhere. So, make sure that you are building those skills so they can transfer into whatever path you are now. Now I've only got a few more years until retirement, so who knows what's next, but I have learned to identify what I'm good at, and hopefully you will do that as well to transfer all those things along. I enjoy networking. I really do. And what I will tell you with that is it's not always who you know, it's who knows you, because you may know someone and they may not know you. We just had this conversation, but it's not just if they know you, it's what they say about you. So remember that when you're networking with people, the kind of impact that you're making and what you're representing about yourself.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much, Tracy.
I'm just double checking. It is on. My goodness, I didn't have to touch a thing.
Yes.
I am so incredibly humbled by the panel that's up here. What they've been able to accomplish, what they've been able to give back to society it pales what I've done in comparison. So I'm just incredibly proud and thankful that I was a part of this panel. For me I majored in computer information systems with also an associate's degree that I received in management. And the reason that I did that was just because at the time, I just thought computers were really cool. And I really had no interest whatsoever in how they worked. And when I went to school, that's pretty much all they taught you was how computers worked. Well, I happened to find an education that taught me about the business side and how computers could be utilized. So I learned about accounting and management and marketing and finance. And I was able to roll that into a career that started off at IBM as a systems engineer, working on, believe it or not, your very first version of a personal computer. Yes, they did exist out there. And your very first email systems. And I can tell you stories about how you had to convince CEOs of companies that it's okay to be able to use your computer to have people out to lunch or something like that, because they did not want this happening. And I can see some people on the panel remembering these stories. But that's where my career actually began. Where it changed for me was roughly about 10 years ago, where unfortunately I had to retire because of medical reasons. that totally changes your perspective on things. Is instead of now working 16 hours a day, you know, and constantly chasing after a number of different things, you start to realize what's really, really important to you and what's important to others. And so I took that opportunity to be able to start to give back through a lot of the connections that I had made through here at Arizona State University. And so now I mentor a number of different students in a variety of different programs, even to the degree, and I was just laughing, is, you know, I'm now an announcer for Sun Devil Athletics. So anybody wants to come to Sun Devil games, you're going to hear me talk even more. But what I echo what our other people say here is, yes, what you learn in your major is important, but to me, it's what's called table stakes. I expect that of you. If you're a communications major, I'm going to expect certain things from you. If you are a technology major, I'm going to expect certain things from you. That does not differentiate you from others in the crowd. What does? Joining Barrett differentiates you. Coming to events like this and meeting individuals like us differentiates you. It gets you to know people. Experience more than just the education that you get here. Barrett is more than an education. Barrett is an experience. And it's an experience that you will remember for a lifetime. Take advantage of what Barrett has to offer. Not just the courses, not just the seminars, but the programs that it has, the clubs that you can join, the impact that you can make. Because believe me, when you get to be my age, that's all you start to look at. It's not the deal that you've closed. It's not the company that you ran. It's not the department that you were in charge of. It's what people did I impact? How's the world going to think of me when I'm no longer here? And you can start making those kinds of changes today that I wished I had done when I was your age, instead of waiting until my mid-50s to make that occur. Okay. So appreciate you being here tonight, and hopefully we'll give you some things to think about.
This is wonderful. Hopefully you've gotten, even just in that first question, some absolutely wonderful gems. There's going to be a test after this, so I hope you're taking notes. At this time, I also would like to welcome to the stage one of our elected officials, our very own Arizona State Representative Alex Culloden. Let's give him a round of applause. Please have a seat, please. Thank you, Representative Culloden. Oh, yes. Oh, I see. We only,
Thank you so much.
well, yes, Dr. Hassan, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we welcome you. We have a few questions that we want to engage you in as well. Thank you for being here with us as well. So our second question, again, take notes because there's going to be an exam afterwards. My second question to you is, what recommendations do you have for students that will help them professionally when finding internships, engaging in student organizations, and volunteering? So while you're thinking about that, I do want to ask Alex, if I may call you Alex,
Tell me whatever you
to please let us know about your major when you were an undergraduate student and what got you inspired in the work that you're doing now, or were you in some way transformed to do what you're doing now?
Well, I majored in international politics and security studies. So, which actually kind of affects the work I'm doing now, because the reason I was late is I was done day 2 of negotiations over the Rio Verde water crisis, which feels a lot like being in the UN. So, no, I mean, I think I always had an interest in public affairs and policy, especially. Every day when I come home and complain to my wife, she's like, well, why'd you want this job? Then I go, because you have to do the politics to get the policy. But I think the thing that was more valuable for me than what I majored in, which is very interesting and has applications beyond what you might imagine. I mean, any major does, and you'll see that when you get in the workforce, is actually having the opportunity to like do some work in politics. When I was in college, when I was in law school, especially, got a chance to work for Congressman Shadegg for a little bit, got a chance to, in law school, work for the Goldwater Institute a little bit as a 1L Reagan Fellow. And that I think matters a lot more, because contrary to what what you might think when you're going through college, I've also been on the employer side of the coin, my law firm and stuff like that. And the paper credentials are becoming increasingly meaningless. I always say I've never interviewed an intelligent person who went to Stanford. For some reason, they're good at computers. They're not really good at anything else. But the paper credentials have become so meaningless because you just can't tell by looking at them what somebody's like. I actually tend to go off two things. Like if they've interned or done summer work schedule for us, I know the quality of their work, or the writing sample. You can tell a lot about the quality of somebody's work from the writing sample, because it's becoming all about demonstrable skills. We used to have a position at our firm that we filled with people who had bachelor's, master's degrees or whatever. And we never got anybody we really liked. So we decided to open it up. It's a fairly skilled position, say no degree required. Got somebody who was a hairdresser for 20 years, who's the best paralegal that not only I have ever worked with, but the national legal teams have ever worked with. So the demonstration of skills is a huge key.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you're here with us. So our second question, and those of you who received this question just a little bit ago, let me reiterate it. It's, what recommendation do you have for our students that will help them professionally when finding internships or engaging in student organizations or volunteering? What experiences that you have had that you might be able to help them in terms of their experiences in those areas?
Oh, okay. This is one. I'm glad you asked this question. This is a question I really wish more people had asked me. I mean, obviously I know politics, right? Like politicians, even at a very high level, are much more accessible than you think they are, right? And obviously, if you want to get in to work in the field of public affairs, like you want to get to know the politicians who are already in there, because they can hook you up with all kinds of job opportunities or whatever. And like, if you go to the right events, and these are not the right events like you have to pay money to get into, right? For example, if you're precinct committeeman or woman with whatever your political party is, and you go to those meetings, or get involved with political organizations. I mean, there's several groups that I know that not only me and my seatmates, because we represent North Scottsdale and Northeast quarter of Maricopa County, not only us, Congressman Schweikert comes up to statewide candidates when they're running, they come through. And if you ask him, you go to one of these events, right? You ask Congressman Schweikert for his cell number, he'll give it to you. You ask me, I'll give it to you. And you can call and just be like, hey, I want to get into politics or whatever. And if your constituent in his district, he will talk to you, and I will talk to you and be like, hey, we've got an internship at the House. Like we can set that up. Like whatever district you're in is kind of like that. So get to know the lay of the land of the political landscape of the grassroots organizations that where you can encounter people like that, and just go frequently. Like they might not come every time or whatever, but if you go enough, you're going to get to know these people. And if you get to know these people, you want to talk about being ahead of the pack, a differentiating factor. Like I think some people talked about earlier, like if they know you, if they see you socially, that's the ultimate differentiating factor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Tracy, what would you say to that question with regard to volunteering, partnerships, internships? What would you say to our students?
One, I would say they are critically important. Two, I'll example in my case, I did not internship when I was an undergrad. And when I went to look for a job, I had a hard time. You've got the academics, but you don't have the experience. And I found it was somewhat of a conundrum towards being hired. I knew I could do the work, but it's hard to prove you could do the work at that time. So if you can intern prior to graduating, I think paid or unpaid, right? Get that. When I was in graduate school, I interned with ASU's athletic department because that was the area of interest for me. And they worked with me with my schedule, with my work schedule and everything. And it was great. The other thing I would tell you, internships can be important because the career you think you want, when you get it and you live it, it may not be what you like. It may, and so if you can do that without having to, spend a lot of money or spend waste a lot of time, an internship can help expose you to what the day-to-day grind looks like and whether that's important. And then I think you asked about networking in student organizations. I was a member of a group called ACME, African Consolidated Mentors for Enhancement. So what we did is teach pre-colonial African history in Central Phoenix, a school that was Shaw Elementary at the time. And volunteering for any organization, especially if you have a role, organization skills, how to deal with people you may not like, how to deal with people, because you are not going to work, everyone you work with in this life is not going to be your favorite person. And that's okay. We can still be respectful. We can still be professional. We're still there to do a job, but sometimes you have to learn those skill sets, right? And so any organization, if you take any role, don't discount that as how to build yourself professionally and even include it on your resume.
Nice, thank you. Thank you. Greg, what would you say to that question? The kinds of recommendations that you would have for our students looking at internships or ways of finding student organizations or volunteering?
First of all, don't be afraid to do anything. I talk to so many students who will say, but I was just a barista at Starbucks. I've got no experience. Oh, excuse me. You mean you never had to deal with a client that was really mad at you? You didn't really have to clear out the cash register. There were tons and tons and tons of things that you do, which are applicable that managers want. And you see everybody up here in the panel nodding to that. Okay. So any function that you do has ramifications for moving forward. When I was your age, if it was legal and it was available, I did it. I drove a taxi cab. I drove a school bus. I worked at a gas station. I worked at a warehouse, you name it, sometimes all at the exact same time. Okay. While I was still going to school full time. And one of the things that I did was I would help people install computers. And I happened to get a job for a young lady that had owned a small business and her husband was regional manager at IBM. Did anybody remember where I said I started my career? So how do you start to make connections? You have no idea who you meet when you put yourself out there. And you have so much to offer, but I cannot tell you the hundreds, if not thousands of students that I have coached that will come up to me and say, I've sent out 500 resumes and I've gotten no response. How many people have kind of done that in the audience? At least a few, I'm sure, right? Hundreds and hundreds. My first question is, did you know anybody at this organization, or are you just blindly applying for a job? Because if you're blindly applying for a job, how long do you think someone actually looks at your resume on average? The average is 6 seconds. 6 seconds, which means if you don't capture someone's attention right away, it's immediately moved to, I don't really need this pile. Okay. So your ability to be able to get to know people is huge. I will not listen. But I don't know anyone, or I'm a first generation student. That's an excuse. You still have things to offer. You would have things to offer to me as, say, a communication student or a poli-sci student. There's things that you're learning today that I don't know. So you connecting to me might teach me a thing or two. And I go, oh, that's really interesting. So you have something to offer. So reach out to us on professional levels. You can connect to us through things like LinkedIn, which we never had when we were going to school. And let me tell you a perfect trick that you can be able to use to LinkedIn to somebody. Okay. People think it's really hard. Oh, I've got to be able to know someone. There are trade shows that exist all over the world in every subject you can possibly imagine. You're a student, you may not be able to go, but what do trade shows do? They always list out all the speakers. They always list out all the attendees. It's very easy to get a hold of these people because they always put their email addresses and whatnot on it. How easy is it to send an email saying, hi, Craig, I see that you're supposed to be speaking at thus and such a conference, but I'm a student at ASU. I can't come, but I'm really interested in what you have to say. And could we link in so I could be able to learn more from you?
Great idea.
How many people are going to turn you down? If you do that even just 5 times a week, how big is your network going to be overnight? You don't have to be leaps and bounds better than the other person. You have to be a little better, a little more recognizable, work a little harder, be memorable. That would be to me be the most important thing that I can ever say is when you're trying to make a difference and you're trying to get noticed by an organization, be memorable, but also don't think that anything is beneath you. There are so many charitable organizations that exist out there that are desperate for help. I'll talk to people that'll try to be a web designer as an example. And they'll say, I can't find a job as a web designer. Nobody's hiring, blah, 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 blah. I could name you 200 charities right off the top of my head that would kill to have somebody design a website for them. All you have to do is reach out to ask.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Craig. Thank you. Kenja, please, could you let us know a little bit of that question as well from your perspective? What recommendations would you have for students?
So one recommendation is right now while you're in school, develop a tolerance for doing those things that you really don't like to do. Meaning, so a lot of students, when I would teach a class that was on civic engagement and civic leadership, a lot of students really hated that we gave them group assignments, and they hated that they were all going to be graded together. But the fact of the matter is, in the world of work, a lot of times you have to work with other people with really different personalities. And the reason why we did those group projects is because we wanted our students to figure out how to practice working with people with different personalities, going through the negotiation process of how a project is going to get done, and really figuring out how to deal with each other, especially when you had one person who wanted to just do all the work and another person who just wanted to kick back and let the other people do all the work, and figuring out how they're going to negotiate with each other to get the whole project done as a group. So figure out how to tolerate those experiences. A lot of times your faculty will ask you to do things in class that you're like, how is this going to serve me in the real world? And there's a lot of things that just going through the process of that learning stage is what you need to get through to the next stage of life. And those things are going to be actually helpful just to go through that stage that faculty is giving you, and to sort of think about that experience as getting you ready for things in the world of work that you don't like to do, but you know you have to, because we are all doing things in the world of work that we're like, God, every grown person you talk to is doing stuff that they don't want to do. So that's part of it. The other part of it is really use the opportunities while you're in school to practice effective communication, and really practice geez Louise, the mundane sounding things like sending emails, like talking on the telephone, like actually getting through conversations with people who are from different generations and different regions of the country, and different, how do I want to say, like different styles of engagement. So people in some fields move fast all the time. And when you're trying to get work done with people that are in fields or in disciplines like mass communication, like journalism, they're moving all the time. And you want to be able to get ready to have that conversation with somebody who's only going to give you 5 minutes, and everything has to be bulleted and you have to get to the point immediately. And then the next time you might be working with somebody who really cares about the relationship. For example, right now I'm having an experience with the world of philanthropy, and I understand now in this situation that in order to encourage people to give, and in this case money, and other arenas of my life, it's like giving time, but why do they want to give in this scenario? And that might be a longer, more drawn out process. It might be interpersonal face time with some professions, and some people are really important. So practice gauging when you're in a space where face-to-face interaction is truly what is needed. And then practice other occasions where you have to come up with your 30-second elevator pitch, because that's all you're going to get. And that's what being in some place like Barrett is for, with professors and leadership like Dr. Davis, who are actually wanting you to think about all these different potential scenarios that you might be in life and practice shifting from one to the other and back again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Panelists, we're getting close to our time, and so I'm going to ask you to please limit your answers for these last two questions, because after these last two questions, we're going to ask for questions and answers from all of you who are in the audience. So begin thinking about what you would like to ask and to whom you would like to ask that question or questions. We'll have just about 10 minutes for Q&A as well. But in these next two questions, please limit. And if you hear me say, thank you very much, and I move on to the next person, please don't take it personally. It's just that we are on our time limit because we have another panelist, a group of panelists who will be coming up. So my next question, and I'll ask Tracy to begin us with that. This question is, how have you built your network, Tracy, in order to become successful in your area? If all of you will think about that, how have you built your network in your area?
I think part of it is professional organizations. I am in general public service professional organizations, and then every department that I've been in, if there's been a relative organization, so right now Parks and Recreation, I'm a member of the National Parks and Recreation Association as well as the Arizona chapter. And I look to speak at events or volunteer and get involved. But also with networking is finding, I've had a lifetime of, or professional lifetime of having to network and maintaining those relationships. And one of the things that I will say is, when you build relationships, and sometimes it's either a check-in or giving a hug or a handshake, when you see someone, when you call to ask them for something or they call to ask you, you're more likely to do it, or they're more likely to do it for you. And again, I want to make sure that when I walk into a room that, my name is said with respect and with good comments. So, the things that you do will matter. Don't ever discount anyone. Don't ever be mean to anyone. Don't ever, those things matter in terms of your professional relationship. And even if you transition fields, you just never know who may be able to help you along the way. And I think he kind of touched on that as well. So, and make sure you're a fly on the wall whenever you can be, and absorb, absorb, absorb.
Wonderful. I would always hear the old adage that be careful who you talk to and how you treat them as you go up the ladder, because you will never know who you will meet when you slide down the ladder. And sometimes coming down the ladder means those who are on that ladder will remember how you treated them when you were climbing, and climbing on top of them even to get to the top. So it's always a very vivid kind of thought when you think about it in that way, as Tracy had mentioned. Thank you so much, Tracy. Alex, I'd like to ask you, how have you built your network in your particular area in order to become successful?
First point, and this is very important, find a good local bar. Drink there at least once a week. So I'm going to my own networking event after this, actually. Like, wow, like politician going to a networking event. Yeah, I was at the bar last night because I got done with the water negotiations at like, 8 o'clock. By the time I get home, it's like 9, almost 9. I go, my wife's asleep, my kids asleep. I gotta get dinner, get some drink at my local bar. Yeah, I meet a guy there. He's like, oh, we're really interested in politics. We follow you in politics. We got this men's group going on tonight. By the way, we have 2 billionaires that are also very politically interested. You should come. I'm like, great, campaign contributions, right? But it's serious, like social, just like go out and be social, and you're going to meet people. Like, that's just how the world kind of works. And then I would say too, it's nice to find a niche in the area that you want to go to. And sometimes it just kind of finds you. Like, I got out of law school, I worked at the Goldwater Institute under Clint Bullock, who's now Justice Bullock, but at the time he was Clint. And I went to work for a big firm in Midtown Phoenix after I got out of law school. Didn't work out. The largest client dropped them. They laid off a third of the workforce or whatever. And so I went back to him because I'd done an internship with him, and that's how stupid I was. I was like, my parents had run a real estate brokerage, and and so that's the world I knew. And I went to him and I said, "Hey, Clint, do you happen to know any HOAs that need lawyers? I'm trying to build my own practice, or at least to make some beer money and rent money while I look for a job." And he goes, "No, but I do know some people in politics who do." And at the time, nobody, there was like one person in the entire Valley who did election law on the conservative side. And he happened to be my next door neighbor 4 doors down, which I had never met him until I had that conversation. So Clint introduced me to him or whatever. Well, then like 6 months after that, I'm in trial in my first election law case. I got my friend Don Cartier there, who hadn't even passed the bar yet. I said, "Your Honor, he's going to be here helping me as the paralegal. He hasn't passed the bar yet." And we won. We beat the county, and it was just sort of beat a reputation off of it. But it was because, I thought to go back to the guy that had done an internship with, like to ask, do you know where I could go in my niche? And I just developed a reputation and network through that. It will seem to happen coincidentally, but it will all be intentional.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alex. All right. Now yes, Kenja, please, if you have I was going to ask you another question, and Craig also this next question, because I do want us to make sure that we have time for our question and answers. The question is, what advice would you give, Kenja, to our honor students who are interdisciplinary and are focused on careers in public service or sector to help them accomplish their academic and professional goals?
Always be flexible, like just be ready to be flexible in your thinking and be perpetually curious, like constantly ask, why, what's next?
Good.
And then, dig a little bit deeper. But remember to pay attention to the discipline you're in, and grab as much as you can from that discipline, which will probably be rigid, but then use your flexibility to cross-pollinate with the other disciplines.
Very nice. Thank you. And Craig, would you give us insights in terms of your advice that you would give to our honor students?
Sure. As a matter of fact, my answer will actually be the same for both questions. People have given great advice on how to be able to network and talking with people and so on and so forth. What I would recommend is never overlook the little things. And sometimes by little things, it's individuals that sometimes you don't see. And that's, especially if you're getting involved in public service, something which is incredibly important is it's the people who are serving you. It's the custodian. It's those that are working on the building. It's those that are parking your car. Talk to them. They're people too. They have ideas. They have concepts. You don't know who they know. They might know some incredible people, but they also may be hurting or know something that needs to happen in society that you have the ability, because of where you are and what you're trying to do, to be able to make an impact. So don't overlook anybody or any little things, because those things will come back to you 100-fold over and over again.
And as Dr. Davis had said earlier, remember, as you're climbing up the ladder, it includes the administrative assistants, right? It includes the people who Craig just mentioned, that may be serving you food at an event. Like, all of those people are part of that ladder. So any one of them, you never know when you might circle back to that person that you were rude to in the elevator because they were pushing the trash can. That might be the person that helps you get out of your locked car. Get into a car that you locked your keys into later on that evening. Like, you really do never know. And it's true how much they can give you professional inspiration as you move through life.
The largest deal that I ever closed, which was for over $100 million, I closed it, and I will say to this day, because I took the president's administrative secretary out to lunch the day before and asked what she thought about what I was going to say. And she gave me some incredible advice And she told me I was the first person who ever even looked her way, let alone asked her out to lunch. So
Thank you.
I fear three things in this world: God, my wife, and my admin. Okay.
Right.
Most important person in the office.
Let's keep it right there. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I'd like to ask those of you who are still on the panel, we still have more to hear from you, but I'd like to open it up now to the audience and see if they would be able to, in the few minutes that we have, and I have to ask Andrea if we might have just a couple more minutes than the minutes that we have on our list here, our agenda. Might we hear from you? Please come up to the microphone and let us know what questions you would like to hear from our panelists that you have. Please state your name, let us know who you are and your year in Barrett or here at ASU, and then please proceed to ask your question.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out today. I hope I speak on behalf of everybody. We really appreciate your time. My name is Harrison Sears. I'm a sophomore. I study political science and philosophy, and I'm also in Barrett Honors College. My question for you guys is, how do you prioritize the vast amount of opportunities that come your way over time? Thank you.
Very good question. Who would like to answer that? Tracy, do you have something?
I'm thinking one of the things I would say is as you matriculate through life, meaning as you get older, the systems are going to be different. You know, the age of my children, the opportunity is one thing, but does it coincide? I have a daughter who's a competitive gymnast, and I have a son who's getting ready to go to high school. Does it work with that environment? Because I still have to be mom. But maybe earlier in my career, when I could, when I was doing a lot of networking, I used to do business development for Sky Harbor Airport, and I used to travel all the time and do a lot of evening events where there were liquor and food and things, but I had the stamina and the wherewithal to do it. I'm not interested in doing that right now. And I want to do the things, you know, I love the work that I do. So I think part of it is where you are in life. And then that can help you decide if this is going to be the thing that's of value to me. It might be about money. It might be about experience. So I think you'll just have to flesh those out as opportunities come your way.
I would absolutely agree. It winds up being what's most important to you. Now, sometimes what's most important to you might be dictated in the function that you're currently provided. Okay. But you have to look in your heart and say, what's important to you? I get asked the question quite often, what was the most important thing that happened in my career? And I said, there was a year where we quadrupled our company's revenue. I opened 6 new locations across 3 different continents. I probably traveled over 300,000 miles. I cannot tell you how many different deals were closed and how many partnerships were created. And that year I made 22 of 27 of my kids' Little League baseball games. And that's what was important to me. So it all depends what's in your heart and what's most important to you. And that's what helps set your priorities.
Alex?
I don't. I do it all. I pursue. If I have good opportunity that jumps in front of me, then I do it. Or I should say I do as much as I can possibly do well, and then maybe a little bit more. Probably why I've been so successful, and probably why I never ever sleep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Other questions that you may have? Any other questions? Please come to the podium.
Hi, my name is Shraman, and I'm a third-year student majoring in public policy. My question is, if you could elaborate on what your original impact goal was at the beginning of your career, and whether that's changed throughout with your career, or what angle you enjoy being able to address it through what you do right now. I know you addressed a little bit of this already, Craig.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I can talk. Again, my undergrad was sociology, master's public administration. I didn't have a specific idea. I knew I wanted to help people. My mother was a social worker by trade. I enjoyed that. I thought my mom was the best. And so I knew I wanted to help people. What the city of Phoenix for me allowed me to do is I have changed careers without changing employers. And so in local government, and I would tell you, you know, one of the things, if you want to stay in public policy, figure out what you want to do, but understand the different types of government to see what kind of impact works for you. I liked local government. I can do, you know, I've done case management. I've helped teen moms who are on welfare, but I've also, you know, helped build the consolidated rental car facility at Sky Harbor. Right now I manage, you know, hundreds of parks and all of the trails and ranger programs and things of that nature. So it's different, but I'm still impacting. I know when I see people come to a park and they have a good experience, or we have an event that, you know, or hundreds of kids go through summer programs safely or get swim lessons, I'm still impacting. I'm making a community impact. We're making sure. So mine has changed, but I knew that it would change, right? Again, because I've kept the same pension, I've kept the same employer, but I've been able to change my career multiple times, but still be a, you know, a servant leader.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Craig or Alex, do you have any input in that question?
I can be very quick, especially considering that my career did not start in public service. So me, it was all about making money. How much money could I possibly make? The more money that I made, the more successful I was going to be. At least that's how I thought when I was 22 years old. As you get older and you learn more, those things start to change. And your perspective starts to change. And so one of the things that I think I've really learned through the years and why my perspective has changed so much is I could now look at other people's perspectives that were different than mine. People that are involved in public policy, people that are trying to be able to give back to society, people that are trying to make a difference, and go, oh, wait a minute. Not only are they thinking a little bit differently than me, but they're actually providing substantial value that I wasn't providing. And now I'm actually kind of proud of the fact that I'm trying to be able to provide back to those that made my life so successful. So yeah, for me, things change dramatically. What I would say though is be acceptable of all people that don't necessarily share your same values or something like that, because things will evolve over time. So like I say, don't just, you know, they only care about this. They may now, they may change later, and you may change later too. That's just the way people are. So like I say, try to be acceptable of all people.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Craig. And Alex, briefly, please, if you would keep us.
Briefly, I'm a politician. Yeah.
That's why I know that. I know that. And then we'll have to close this particular session of our program. But Alex, please go right ahead.
Sure. So before I got into politics, I always thought that the people who made the money had the greatest positive impact on society. And now that I'm in politics, I'm absolutely certain of it because we're pretty worthless. But fortunately, the goal I started out with was to dismantle large portions of the government. So and restore a little bit of individual liberty, and that's never changed. I've kind of always been that way. I've kind of still the same person I was in third grade. That really never did. But now I actually get to take a hammer to things. So now I get to actually have the fun.
Thank you, Alex. May you all please join me in thanking these wonderful panelists for this panel. Absolutely. Yes, Tracy. You
I
have
just wanted
something
to
say?
one, I think Kinja indicated this, you guys are in the honors college, so do not discount that as you are selling yourself. And the other thing is that do not discount your lived experience, because especially going into public policy, your lived experience is like no one else's in this room and no one else's you will encounter. So that combined with your education, just make sure, because no one wants to hear from a practitioner about how to do something if they've not lived through it and they've not talked to the people that lived through it. So please be sure to use your lived experience as something to sell yourself with.
Wonderful, wonderful way to end this panel. Thank you, panelists, so very much. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. Thank you all. We're going to change a bit now, and my moderator colleague is going to be coming up, who will be moderating. That is Shantia White. And we'll have a wonderful group of panelists who will be joining us now. I believe Andrea will be introducing them as well.
Okay, thank you so much for our keynote speakers. Now I want to present the second group of panelists for tonight. We are very happy to have you. As a moderator for this panel, we have Shantia White. It's okay. She's a program manager for internships and community engagement at Barrett Honors College. Prior to ASU, she worked as an adjunct professor at Washington Adventist University, where she taught college study for students and academic warning, a learning assistance for students on academic probation and suspension. Among other courses she taught was Introduction to Counseling, Social Welfare Policy, and Human Behavior in Social Environment 1 and 2, which were all within the Department of Social Work. She also served as a social resource coach and an academic advisor at Montgomery College and the Prince George Community College. Before social work, Shantia was a recipient and worked for the Hillman Entrepreneurs Program at the Prince George Community College and the University of Maryland. College Park, where she assisted student entrepreneurs with all aspects of business development, transfer assistance, and career academic planning. At Oklahoma State University, she worked closely with Rita Center and the School of Entrepreneurship to evaluate the development of the first entrepreneurship education management high school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Participated in the Creativity, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship Scholars Program, where she outstanding commercialized new technologies in partnerships with the Schools of Engineer and Business Program, where she consulted Black business owners under the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Initiative, South Africa's first attempt to address inequalities as a result of the apartheid regime. She was also a branch of social work student day on the Healing Master's degree in social work from the University of Maryland, Baltimore, a master's degree in human development and family science from Oklahoma State University, a bachelor's degree in family science in the University of Maryland, College Park, and an associate degree with honors from Prince George Community College. She is certified in human service leadership and management, nonprofit management and leadership, entrepreneurship and education, and political campaign management. Welcome, and thank you so much for moderating this panel. It's okay. Well, now I want to present an outstanding student in the ASU community, Harrison Sears. Harrison Sears is a junior studying political science and philosophy, morality, politics, and law at ASU. He found his passion for student advocacy early in high school as a chair of fundraising for a local nonprofit called Paul for Bucks, as well as Make-A-Wish Colorado Youth Leadership Council. He spent his first year at ASU serving as a president and developing the Barrett Leadership Service team on the downtown campus, trying to cultivate a culture of giving. He established relationships with a variety of local nonprofits. Additionally, Sears was appointed as a senator for the Barrett Honors College and worked on the legislation to further the inclusiveness and the resources allotted at the ASU students in 2022 and 2023. Sears served as a Senate president for the Graduate Student Governor Downtown, in addition to clubs. Sears is part of the Justice and Equity Honors Network, which through collaboration with the Macaulay Honors College aims to promote discussion with the community to find solutions to complex social problems. Thank you so much for being part of this panel and for joining us today. Next, we have the pleasure to have Isabella Meadows. She's a neurolinguistic programming practitioner, a speaker, coach, and founder of the Hers with Touch, a personal development company nurturing holistic mind, body, spirit wellness. Isabella is presently intern under the mentorship of acclaimed public speaker, Michael Burford, managing the social media for the Human Communication Institute, where she used cutting-edge neurolinguistic programming speakers language patterns to influence people to make better decisions. As a member of the National Speaker Association, Isabella is learning from some of the top speakers and coaches in the country. She's also a junior at Barrett, triply majoring in accounting, marketing, and finance. That's amazing. Her passion for personal development and entrepreneurship has driven her to take on several leadership roles, including the president and co-founder for the Lewis Center Ambassadors, vice president of ASU Beta Alpha Phi Character, and co-founder of Coach Connect, a startup software application that utilizes AI to match entrepreneurs with qualified coaches based on compatible learning communication styles. Having previously interned in the tax department for a public accounting firm, Isabella understands the challenges, excitement, and the opportunities that come with the job research process. And she has a huge heart for helping young people align with their highest selves through personal and professional development. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here with us today. Next, I want to introduce in our panel our student, Bryson Reviscliffe. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing well the names. I hardly pronounce mine. He's an entrepreneur, founder of the ASC Companion Care on Education at Healthcare Service, and founder and CEO of Ayer Events, a personal development event planning company. His passion for professional and personal development inspired Bryson to co-found the Lewis Center Ambassadors, where he is treasurer and event planning director. Bryson is also senior at Barrett, double majoring in finance and entrepreneurship, and earning his certificate in geography, information science, and international business. Bryson is a big believer in interdisciplinary studies and utilizing the opportunity of internships to experience numerous industries, having previously worked as a project management and marketing intern at the Khalid Construction, a robotics and automation company, a print shop, and 2 other mini startups. Bryson understands the challenges and opportunities for young people have to navigate during the job research process, as well as their educational benefits. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor for us to have you. Next, I want to introduce our panelist, Sarak Arwal. Is an assistant project manager with experience in cross-functionality business roles as marketing, finance, and sales. Technical roles as backend and front engineers and data science, as well as designers and UX researchers to bring products to life that make users' problems and pain points go away. Sarak has experience working in web and mobile products, AI, and machine learning. He still gets fascinated to see data prediction future trends. It is completely based on data sets. He built successful drop shipping store, seeing data predicting customer feed and generating fruitful results is still an astonishment to him. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you. Finally, but not least, we have one Barrett alumni, Natalia Stefano. She's a program coordinator for the Barrett Honors College at Downtown Campus. A bona fide son devil, Natalia graduated with a degree in psychology and a minor in communications from Barrett, the Honors College, and returned to complete her graduate degree in elementary education at Arizona State University. Prior to her career at ASU, Natalia worked and teach for America course member and teacher in the Great Phoenix area. Although Natalia is a New Jersey native, she has grown and called Arizona home. In her free time, you can find her exploring Arizona, writing and acting in a local theater company, and making fun memories with friends and loved ones. Thank you so much for being here, and it's an honor to have you in our panel.
Can I just say thank you for staying here this long? This is a wonderful panel, and I'm so happy the students have stayed to be able to listen to their peers and how they can grow in internship, scholarship, and community opportunities. So thank you all for engaging with us. Now, panel, are you ready for the questions? We're live. We're really live. So one thing you're going to know about me is I love to make people laugh, at least try to. So we're going to start with the first question. What was the best internship, scholarship, or volunteer opportunity while in college? And has your academic experience prepared you? We're going to start with Ezelina, and then we're going to work our way to Bryson, okay?
Thank you everyone for being here tonight. I worked in tax for a company called Haney and Company for 8 months, and this was from January 2022 to August last year. And what I learned during that time with Haney is that above all, it's the people. It really is the people that you work with. In all honesty, I didn't love tax. I probably won't do tax the rest of my life, but the relationships that I made with those people and what they taught me about life and about communication and the person you show up as every day, I still keep in contact with a good amount of the people that I met there. And I think that is one of the most important things that you can learn in an internship. It's just about people. And whether or not that's a field you go into down the road, I think what's more important is the skills, like we had the panelists on the, still on, okay. The panelists in the first panel say, those skills that are transferable to other industries and whatever you're going to do in life. So that was my best experience.
That's amazing. Being people-centered is number one. That's what I got from that. Thank you so much, Bella. Chef?
So the experience I had was last year when I was working with Meta, originally Facebook. I was interning there as an engineering intern, and the best part about that was I was working in the Oculus department, the artificial intelligence, the augmented reality, working with the best minds in the world, I would say. And no wonder why people say that be safe if Facebook doesn't come in your domain, because if they do, then it's not gonna take more than 2 months before they're better than you. And it's simply because innovation done at such a fast pace can be seen at Meta or Facebook, I should say. And that's simply because people are so motivated to not just build products, but build products on the edge of innovation and take that risk and have faith that it's gonna work. And at the same time, even if you're not getting paid for extra hours, you still work on weekends because you believe in the product and you believe in innovation. And when you see 100,000 people working on nothing but believing in innovation, I think that really broadens my vision, seeing that everyone is working super hard on the cutting edge technology, making sure that we deliver the best customer experience is something I feel that definitely helped me in my career. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, thank you guys so much for having us here. We really appreciate your time. I agree with my other panelists that the skills transferred are definitely one of the key things that you kind of take away from these internships and these volunteer opportunities. Specifically for me, so I'm the president of the Barrett Leadership and Service Team. One of our key initiatives is creating service events and with partnership with other nonprofit organizations. I found that when you're reaching out, making the connections originally with these nonprofits and kind of building an event out of nothing that can have an impact towards the community that you represent, I think that that was one of the biggest takeaways that I've had so far.
Again, I'll echo the sentiments of everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I have a unique perspective to offer, I think. I not only am a current Barrett staff member, but I'm also a Barrett alumni. I graduated from Barrett in 2018. And in my time in Barrett, I was involved in an organization called Honors Devils, which, if you're not familiar, is a student recruitment organization. They go to high school fairs, community colleges, and talk about Barrett, what they have to offer, and how it can really serve students. And I started with this organization my freshman year, and I ended up working my way up to president my senior year. But during my freshman year, I really had this sort of epiphany-like moment. Backtrack. As was mentioned in my biography, I also act and write for a local theater company. And I will say that performing is probably my first love. And participating in Honors Devils showed me a career where I could be in front of people, memorize content, whether it be a script or facts, and share that with others, field questions that I may not be prepared for, sort of like that improv, right? And so I was able to find something that had all the elements of what I loved, and then ended up finding a career, student engagement, where I was able to kind of have those experiences on a daily basis. And for me, having being part of an honors college or being part of an academic institution that sees that you have that moment and says, okay, how can we get you to where you want to go? It may not be, it may be a career that doesn't even exist yet. So find the things that matter most to you in what you would like your career or your work to be, and find that to align with you. Because if it doesn't naturally align with who you are, you will have a harder time. So I would say definitely listen to who you truly are.
And be your authentic self to figure out
Yes.
those goals.
Authenticity.
Again, thank you everyone for being here. I think for me, it was when working at Caliente Construction, I had been searching for months for an internship and trying to figure out what industry I wanted to go into, knowing I wanted to experience a little bit of everything, because that's what I find the most valuable being in college and being able to go for internships is being able to experience a wide variety of things. And just attending networking event after networking event through the Lewis Center. And I really connected with one of the speakers, and just I prepared for each one of these events. But I brought my resume and I brought like a basic cover letter, but then if I knew ahead of time that I was interested in them, I would also write one up. And for her, I wrote one up as well. Interviewed with her literally that night while she was there for a speaker event, because she just was willing to take the time with me, and got to experience from human relation to project management to marketing. And what I learned when I, in the end, left at the end of the summer was if you really want to learn and you want to give back in those internships, people will go more out of your way than I would have ever imagined to just help you learn and develop through internships. And I think they want to see you soar because they remember when they were starting. And that I think was so motivating for me to go into my next internships, was just realizing that when you go there, they really want to see you soaring when you leave, and they know you're going to leave, but they want you soaring when you leave.
Absolutely. Employers are invested in their students. And there's evaluations, there's performance evaluations, as well as timesheets that they complete. And so let them invest in you. So I love that. I love the sentiment that you shared, Bryson. That was great. Many of you all I see, I'm familiar with because I've advised you in career. Raise your hand if I've met with you. Awesome. Oh, I thought I saw a hand in the back. What's great about our advising sessions here at Barrett is that we use multiple platforms to diversify job searches. We use Handshake, we use LinkedIn, and we explore which one works best. Some students have niche ideas where they're looking into gaming learning or aerospace engineering. And so diversifying your job search options are always a plus. So I'm going to ask this question to panel. How did you navigate the internship, scholarship, and prepare for your application for each opportunity? What advice would you give the students?
Meet with your career coach first and foremost. And when you think your resume is good, it can always be better. So I found value within WP Carey. I don't know how it is for the other schools, but I met with my career coach. He helped me with my resume, my cover letter, and just really utilize Handshake. It's a really great platform. LinkedIn, reaching out. One of the things I've found to be super helpful is look for people in a company, the industry that you want to go into, and just send a message. And the worst that's going to happen is that they just don't respond. But I've kind of cold reached out to people, and then they get back and you get to set up an interview or a coffee chat with them. And it's such a great way. And you're so young. They want to help young college students. And so you have that to your advantage. So take advantage of it.
Thank you.
I would recommend finding people on LinkedIn that you can pay and get your resume reviewed. And the reason why I say that is because ASU offers tremendously great services for resume reviews, but a lot of times you want your resume reviewed and tailored as per the job you want to apply for. And sometimes your application or your resume might be the best, but it just needs some tweaking that someone at that position can tell you, and only that person knows because they are the ones on the hiring end. So that is something that I have done, and I have got the return back like 10-folds. So definitely do that. Don't be afraid of paying money. If you are paying $6,000 or $10,000 per semester at ASU, it doesn't hurt to pay $300 an hour and get your resume reviewed. And that 1 hour is worth it when you get 10 interviews and 3 job offers, hopefully. The second advice I would have is definitely apply. I see my friends saying that I don't want to apply to this company because I'll never get in. A sneak peek I'll have for everyone is, because I've worked with Facebook, all the product managers at Facebook are non-STEM majors, and they specifically hire product managers who are not STEM majors. And the best part about that position is they don't accept referrals from anyone. So even if you are a director at Facebook, you cannot give a referral to anyone for that position. And they hire, I think, 200 product managers every year. So the best part about that is every one of you can apply, and there's a high chance that each one of you will get interview, and I, being a STEM major, won't get an interview. So definitely apply. It doesn't hurt to apply. And more importantly, it doesn't hurt to get your resume reviewed by someone, because there's definitely a way you can tell your story in a much better way that gets your resume in.
Not sure if you're going to work me out of a job, aren't you? Know what you said about paying outside of the university. That's a great tip, but it was a joke. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. And to go off a point that he said at first, the great thing about being in Arizona State University, and specifically Barrett the Honors College, is you have so many resources at your disposal. Literally anything and everything, there's probably a resource that you can go to. As we were all saying, talk to your advisor. Those are the things you should always be starting out with. Talk to your advisor, making sure that people are proofreading your resume, all that good stuff, but also acknowledging the resources that you have available here. I think that a lot of times we say, oh, there's so many resources, but nobody really does the research to really go into what is available. So I'm just letting you know that Arizona State has basically anything you could ask for, and you could do anything. One of the things as a club leader that I've noticed is I have Barrett funds, I have USG funds, And all of these funds can culminate to amazing events catered towards the needs of the community or individual passions. So I really advise everybody to, if you are having like an entrepreneur mindset or a creative mindset, think about starting a club. As soon as you start a club, especially with Barrett, you have access to funding, faculty, staff who their purpose is to help you succeed. So take all the opportunities you can and then grow within those opportunities.
One of the greatest pieces of information and advice that I received when I was a Barrett student was from a professor that I had in a professional communication course that I took. And she introduced me to the concept of, people may call it different things, of like a monster resume. And it essentially is a running list of everything you've ever done. Your honors contracts, the projects that you do in the classroom, things you do outside the classroom, organizations that you're involved in, internships, job opportunities. And you keep this all in a running document. And whenever you apply for a position, whether it be an internship or a job, I know that it was mentioned like tailoring the resume specifically to the position. Having all that available at your disposal immediately helps you recall, one, gives you a nice little confidence boost because then you're immediately in this positive headspace of like, yeah, look at all this stuff I've done. Like I'm 100% suited for this position. And you start to have a positive mindset, but also you see how the work that you've done specifically applies to the work that you want to do in this position. And it can also help you communicate to the hiring manager, whoever you're having the interview with, how you can best fit in their organization. So taking the time to reflect maybe at the end of every quarter, at the end of every semester, to just kind of jot down some of the things that you felt were very important to you in your work. And then use that as a resource. I still have mine from my undergrad that I referenced in lots of different opportunities. They also come up great when it comes time to have like performance reviews or things like that. So it's a really great tool to have in your tool belt.
So I kind of have two different things. I love the idea about the resources at ASU. I realized my senior year, the biggest thing I didn't tap into was my professors' networks. You know, the more I got to know my thesis director, being in Barrett, the closer you get to some of those professors, if you go up the, the chain in like the schools that you're really into and just connect with those professors, I'm talking like high level people at EY that I've met and just different people that like are working in the office of Phoenix, like urban heat mitigation, that I never would have thought I would find through like my professor's network. So that was really awesome. But in terms of like the actual application process, working at Caliente in the HR office, one of the number one things she says she looks for on a cover letter is if they did the research to figure out who the hiring manager is. And if it was dear hiring manager, it went to the bottom and she got there at the end of her, like going through it. And not that you can do it every time. But she was like, one of the things that, will tell me if they looked, was I don't usually put my name as hiring manager. She goes, I look to see then if they spoke with someone in the company to figure it out. And if they were creative enough, and if they were creative enough, then I know they're probably creative enough to work here. So.
I'm glad you all mentioned utilizing career services, outsourced opportunities through outsourced contracting, faculty on campus, resources here at ASU. But ultimately, part of Barrett that you can utilize the most is your honors faculty, because they have so many resources within the industry that you're in. And you can schedule an appointment pre-health, pre-law. If you're on Poly's campus, there's a lot of STEM majors. So really figure out who is your honors faculty. On the website. We'll provide links as well. Click and see where's your discipline and then who is representing that discipline within the Barrett faculty. So please utilize Barrett faculty as well. This was a great panel today as it relates to talking about networking and what networking skills they employ, which groups that they professional groups, community groups that they're a part of. Let's talk about how do you perfect your networking skills? So many of you are half, some of you are part of TW Lewis Center, networking all the time. Some of your personalities I've known for a very long time. You exude extroverted personalities that I just feel like you can really share at this panel today. So please talk about how do you perfect your networking skills?
Like she said, I'm part of the TW Lewis Center. I really recommend, if you haven't checked them out, take advantage of the TW Lewis Center. Seriously, the opportunity there to meet high profile people, your peers even, the networking opportunities are incredible. And then also keep in mind the person that you want to become. Where are you going in life? What is your objective? And if you keep that in mind and you start to act now as if you are already that person and showing up in all areas, even at the grocery store, even at the gas station, even at the gym, wherever you are, to show up and to embody the character of that professional that you see yourself becoming, because people are always watching, even when you don't think they are. So to always show up with a smile and to never forget the power of a simple please and a simple thank you. And also handwritten thank you notes. They go so far and you will be so memorable, because how many of you, in all honesty, get a thank you note in the mail, right? That speaks volumes to get that from someone. And so yeah, that's my best tips. And to always smile. Smile wherever you go. People will remember a smile.
Thank you.
I would definitely recommend TW Lewis because I don't attend all the events, but the one event that I think we all have attended is the Robert Kiyosaki Rich Dad Poor Dad event, in which he was talking about how to invest in real estate with zero money. And turns out after being at that event, I started researching on how I can invest in real estate with no money in my bank account. And turns out there are multiple ways how I can do it. And now I'm putting my foot forward into doing those steps. But the second and most important point, I think, is how to connect with people on LinkedIn. And that is something what I do is, let's say I want to work or apply for jobs at Amazon, for example. What I'll do is I'll see ASU alumni that are working at Amazon. I don't know anyone, but what I'll do is I'll send a connection request. And in that, there is a small notes section when you send your connection request. Just add a small paragraph directly. Don't do indirect messages, because people are smart enough to know why you want to connect with them. If you tell them a little about yourself and then request them that, can you please refer me? I can bet you if you email 20 people at one company, you'll get 3 people replying back saying, no worries, I'll refer you. It's definitely good to know a person before asking for a referral, but a lot of times when you need a referral, you just need it because of time crunch. So just email people or cold message them. There is enough good people out in the world that if you email 30 people of one company, 3 people will be there who are going to say yes and refer you without even knowing you. And that might be a good way to start your career, because that's what I did. And turns out when I did that, so many people replied back that out of Fortune 100 companies, I know people in 50 companies who will refer me. So, and I don't know anyone personally. I have never met anyone, but they are just nice enough to refer me. And I do the same, but the question is how many people are willing to do it? That's it.
Yeah, that's great. Some advice that I would have, 3 things. 1, be prepared. If you're looking for an internship, job opportunity, or just a position at a company, always do your background, your due diligence to understand, like you were saying, who is the hiring manager, find that out, what are their values, vision, what does the company stand for? So when you have that, in which this leads up to number 2, always ask for an in-person interview. I have to now specify in person because post-COVID-19, there is Zoom interviews that when I've been reaching out to people that has been an option. I personally get Zoom fatigue. I don't know if you guys have experienced that. So I always recommend doing in-person interviews, not only because you're able to make that connection better, but you're also able to read the interviewer a little bit more and their stance and how they are responding to your answers. I feel like over video, it's a little more difficult to read those things. And then number 3, always ask questions post-interview. When you do your background research, and this is something that I always run into, I do a lot of background information that I probably know the company more than some of the interviewers. But when you have those questions and they go, hey, do you have any questions for me? Even if you know everything about the company, still ask those questions because it shows that you're eager to learn and that you want to know more.
I, again, echo all those sentiments. I think that for me, one of the things that I came to realize was that networking didn't necessarily mean formal. I think a lot of times people often get like even like pre-anxiety before going to networking events or like places where they know they may have to kind of do an elevator pitch or something where they need to kind of be on in order to be successful. And sometimes people can walk away from networking events almost like feeling defeated, maybe because they had one interaction that maybe didn't go as smoothly as it could have. Those are things that you really kind of need to, it takes practice, just let it roll off the back. And it was an experience. And maybe you had one not so great interaction, but maybe you had 4 great ones. And so there are more opportunities to network with people than just formal networking events. So really finding a way to communicate with someone, hey, this is what I'm about. This is what I'd love to do. They may not have a job available for you, but next time that topic comes up in conversation, that light bulb will go off. So just sharing who you are and what you're about with people, regardless of the formality of the experience, is beneficial.
Again, all amazing. Going off what he said about like the LinkedIn message, like tonight, for example, when I reach out to some of the speakers on LinkedIn, one of the best pieces of advice that I got from my mentor was, if you're going to reach out to them, when you message them, do it. And if you do it the next day, whatever, but make sure you put in the date and like where you met them and why you were there and something you took away from it. And like, it's like one of the best ways to, when you then go back and like try to, connect with that relationship, as I think it was Tracy that mentioned that, like, you don't just like connect with them and then not talk to them for 2 years until you want something from them. Like try to, stay engaged, but like, then that allows you to have like a stepping point of where you met them at.
Absolutely.
And I think that's been something that's been really helpful.
And I'm going to piggyback off what he said. Tracy was so on point in her last thought when she said, be your authentic self. Your authentic self is your unique self. And you bring something to the table when you meet with employers. That was so impactful, that last statement, because it resonates with what Natalia is saying. And it also resonates with what Isabella is saying, where you project yourself, who you want to be, and that can still be your authentic self. So I think that is a beautiful thing. So let's talk about, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what recommendations would you give your peers who are indecisive about applying to programs, internships, and other leadership positions? So let's provide some context here. So many of our students are interdisciplinary students. They may be psychology students and pre-law students. They may be philosophy students and engineering students, computer science students, and mathematics students. So what type of recommendations would you give a student who is goal-oriented but wants to know how to navigate being goal-oriented, but also being focused on achieving their career goals?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is to listen to your heart and to listen to your gut instinct. And sometimes it's not going to be completely logical. It's not going to make sense to your parents or friends or people around you. It might not even be the highest paying position. But if you listen to your heart you can't go wrong. I really believe that. And so that would be my number one piece of advice for making a decision. And number two, you can create opportunities for yourself. So if you're facing a decision and it just doesn't feel right, and it doesn't feel aligned, and it doesn't feel like it's for you, you can go out there and create alternative paths for yourself. And by that, for example, my job that I got with Haney and tax, even though I realized no, tax isn't what I want to do, what I learned from that, there was never a formal job posting. I was in management 303, it was the honors management class. And we had this interview project where we needed to reach out to 10 managers, and it could be any industry, any company. And at the time, I thought I really wanted to go into tax and tax law. So I reached out to a tax company and I did research and I figured out who their manager was. And I reached out on the premise of, hey, can I interview you for this project I have for my honors class? And of course, he got back. He was so excited to meet with me, and I interviewed him and asked questions, but my interview of him was really his interview of me. And so I kind of created the opportunity myself. And after that, he asked me to send him my resume, and long story short, that's how I got the position, but it was never posted. And so I share that story because just because something doesn't exist, or it's that you want to make a decision, but you feel like it's not there, you can always create those opportunities for yourself. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Sounds like being an entrepreneurial too.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would recommend throwing arrows in all directions. That's what I did, and I still do it. I was talking to Shantia, I think, last month, and she planted this thought of doing law. And now I'm researching to do law, and somehow I'm going to figure that out as well. But the idea is to try as many things as you can. And the fact that we are at Barrett and at ASU with so many diverse fields to look at. I've been on film sets doing nothing but being a spot boy. Can you believe it? No, I can't even believe it. But the idea that I try different things just to make sure that I know what I don't want to do is more important than I know what I want to do. Because if I know what I don't want to do, it still narrows down what I might want to pursue later. And I think that's definitely something that has helped me know which direction I should want to go in. And I think having the fear to fail is not something that I think about, because I might as well fail, but I'll still learn something down the line that will help me in my next career that I might want to pursue. So I think the fear is never a question for me, and trying everything I can and fail as fast as I can, because that's more important than getting success in one thing. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I agree with both of you guys. I think you both brought up really important points. Follow your heart is a big one, but also realize that it's okay to make mistakes. Your heart sometimes makes mistakes. You might believe you're going to a decision that you think is the best, but given some time and other things may be happening in your life, it might not turn out to be that way. That is okay, because like he was saying, you learn from those mistakes. And I agree with you, as well as sending it out to whoever will listen. You know, it might not be the field that you are specifically going after, but who knows, you might get a response from somebody, end up trying it out, and then you find a new field. So yeah, great job, guys.
So as we received these questions for the panel, and the question was, where do you hope to see yourself 5 years from now? I came to the startling realization that I'm at my post-Barrett 5-year mark. And so I had some time to kind of think back as to where I wanted to be 5 years from when I graduated from Barrett. And truthfully, I wanted to be at Barrett working in student engagement. And I had a plan on how I wanted to get there. And that was not the plan on how I got here. And I say that to remind yourself that I truthfully don't think there are any such thing as a misstep when it comes to a career, because you may just have a shift in your responsibilities and your priorities and what you are bringing to whatever work you're doing. But depending on what industry we may want to work in, there are oftentimes preconceived notions of what a career in that industry might look like, and historically what that career has looked like. Truthfully, I don't believe we are in a space anymore where lifelong careers in the same company or the same position are realistic for most people. And that is a learning curve for a lot of people. And so going through that experience and validating yourself in your experience is really important to that growth, I think.
Yeah, on that topic, I 100% agree with that, everything that's been said. I mean, my coach is over there, and she's coached me to follow my heart in a lot of things. But one of the things that I've really had to do as I start my second business was realize my first business wasn't right for me. And I had to rethink. And if you've heard of Adam Grant, he's an amazing guy. He's got a great book. It's called Rethink. And it's really just about, we tend to not go back and question the decisions. Like, we question our decisions, but not like our big ideas of life or like where we wanted, as often as maybe we need to evaluate them objectively. And really just like, it's cliche, but writing down where your values are with what you're doing and what's missing from where you want to be. Whether that's like actually your career or it's a relationship, and it's like, what else do I need to feel fulfilled? And then how do I also find that in my like work life? And I think rethinking your career, because it's not a world that we're going to be in the same career forever, is really important, and something I wish I had done sooner. But I think 5 years from now, I see myself continue to work in the event space and just growing my business. And the best thing that I did to, I think, get to the point of confidence with that was, and is very interdisciplinary. I've surrounded myself by people with across campuses, is actually, and I hate to push it again, but like the Lewis Center has allowed me to meet so many people of different disciplines I would never have met. Like, and I think that was just, it's exposed me to so many unique ideas and opportunities, and just friendships that I will always have in different industries. Like the person who's doing my branding, I would never have met them if it wasn't through like meeting people of different industries. And then, you know, having a friend be like, oh, I have a friend who has a branding business in his master's program, you know, or through another friend who's doing marketing and she's going to help me with my social media. And so it's really like, I think sometimes we look up and we are wanting to find, you know, when I was like thinking about, oh my God, my business, like, what am I going to do? I was looking for older mentors in that sense, but I forgot how many amazing peers we have that are in their master's programs or just in our same years that are successful with what they do and really know what we're doing. And they're not our disciplines. And so they seem extra hard, but they're there, and we need to tap into our own age group and network.
Absolutely. Let's give a round of applause to the panel. They have done a fantastic job. Fantastic job. And let's resonate some of the summary points of what we discussed here today. Be your authentic self. Our career goals are not always a linear trajectory. They can move around. Life happens. Shift with life. Be flexible with yourself and those around you. Appreciate, respect, and be kind to those around you, no matter the position. Utilize LinkedIn and Handshake to be able to diversify your search options. Connect with alumni from Barrett, your faculty advisors, even on LinkedIn, and other students who might be interning where you would like to pursue career goals as well. So thank you, guests. Thank you, those who have attended today. Please go to each table, meet with our vendors. We have the privilege of inviting the State's Attorney's Office, the world's best connectors. And then also, if you want any information about summer development, the summer development program that Barrett supports students, $150, $1,500, $1,500 over the summer. If you have an unpaid or paid position, it is utilized for students to alleviate burden that they may face over the summer. So utilize resources here at Barrett so that way you can accomplish your career goals. Thank you so very much, panel, student panel, and alumni panel.
I just want to add something. Please network with with each other, please. I think that as you can see, we have great people here. And I know that they are very open to talk with you. So please don't be shy. Thank you.
But I mean, like, I had no idea.